She trusted her with everything, her secrets, her dreams, even her passwords. But when her best friend smiled at her wedding, she had no idea that same smile would destroy her marriage, steal her husband, and leave her with nothing. This is the story of how betrayal wears a familiar face. Maya and Rachel grew up like twins in the crowded streets of Ajagunal, Lagos. They shared everything: one spoon, one plate, one dream between two hearts. Their mothers used to watch them from the veranda, braiding each other's hair under the mango tree, and say with knowing smiles, "These two, born in different houses, but raised by one heart." Maya was the brilliant one, always reading, always planning, always seeing 10 steps ahead. Rachel was the beautiful one, charming, effortlessly captivating every room she entered, always knowing exactly what to say to make people fall in love with her. Despite their differences, they were inseparable. They sold pure water together after school, splitting the profits equally. They cried together when Maya's father died, and they celebrated together when Rachel's mother finally saved enough to open her small provision shop. Maya dreamed of becoming a lawyer, fighting for the voiceless. Rachel dreamed of marrying rich, living in Lekki, driving luxury cars, and never struggling again. Their paths were different, but their bond seemed unbreakable. On a humid Lagos evening, sitting on the concrete steps of their compound, they made a promise. Maya held Rachel's hand tightly and said, "No matter what happens, no man will ever come between us. Sisters forever." Rachel squeezed back, her eyes glistening. "Sisters forever," she echoed. They didn't know that promise would be tested in the cruelest way possible. Maya's final year at the University of Lagos was a blur of textbooks and hustle. To support herself through school, she had started a small catering business, preparing jollof rice and small chops for corporate events. It was at one of these events, a law firm's anniversary celebration in Victoria Island, that she met Daniel Stevens. He walked into the venue tall and confident in a tailored navy suit. He was an architect, successful and ambitious, with kind eyes that crinkled at the corners when he smiled. "This jollof rice is incredible," he said, his voice warm and genuine. "Did you make this yourself?" "Yes, sir." "Thank you." "Don't call me sir. I'm Daniel." He extended his hand. "And you are?"
Maya.
"Maya Johnson." That was how it started. Daniel began calling her, not just for catering services, but to talk. He would bring her lunch unexpectedly at campus, help her carry her heavy trays to events, and wait for her after evening classes so she wouldn't take public transport alone. Their courtship was everything Maya had prayed for. Daniel was calm, respectful, generous, and focused. He listened when she talked about her dreams of opening her own law firm. He made her laugh when the stress threatened to overwhelm her. 6 months into their relationship, Maya couldn't wait any longer. She had to tell Rachel. They met at their favorite spot, a small bukanyaba that served the best EBA and egusi soup in Lagos. "Babe," Rachel squealed, hugging Maya tightly. "I've missed you." I know. But Rachel, I have something to tell you." Maya's eyes sparkled. "I met someone." Rachel's smile didn't falter, but something flickered in her eyes, something quick and dark.
"What?"
"Maya, tell me everything." As Maya gushed about Daniel, his kindness, his success, how he made her feel, Rachel listened with rapt attention. But inside, a small voice whispered poisonously, "Why does everything good happen to Maya? Why not me?" 2 weeks later, Maya arranged for Daniel and Rachel to meet at a restaurant in Ikeja. Rachel had dressed deliberately, a form-fitting emerald dress that hugged every curve, subtle perfume that lingered, hair flowing past her shoulders in perfect waves. "Daniel, this is Rachel. My best friend, my sister, my everything," Maya said, beaming. "Rachel, I've heard so much about you," Daniel said warmly, extending his hand. Rachel took it, holding it just a fraction longer than necessary, her smile dazzling. "All good things, I hope?" Throughout dinner, Rachel was the perfect best friend, enthusiastic, supportive, funny. But when Maya excused herself to the restroom, Rachel's eyes lingered on Daniel a moment too long. She noticed everything: the expensive watch on his wrist, the Mercedes key fob on the table, the confident way he carried himself. Later that night, alone in her small rented room, Rachel stared at the ceiling, unable to sleep. She thought about Daniel's car, his expensive clothes, the way he had casually paid for dinner without even glancing at the bill. Why does she always get the good things? Rachel whispered to the darkness. What makes her so special? The seed of envy, small and seemingly insignificant, had been planted. The envy didn't consume Rachel overnight. At first, she genuinely tried to be happy for Maya. But every time she saw them together, Daniel opening doors for Maya, buying her thoughtful gifts, looking at her like she hung the moon, the bitterness grew stronger. Rachel began finding excuses to text Daniel privately. It started innocently enough. Hi Daniel. It's Rachel. I want to get Maya a surprise gift for her birthday. What is she really like these days? Daniel, unsuspecting and helpful, responded enthusiastically with suggestions. The conversation flowed easily. Rachel was careful, strategic. She positioned herself as the concerned best friend. But she began planting seeds. Maya is so focused on her career lately, she mentioned casually. I hope when you guys get married, she'll have time to actually be a wife, you know? She can be a bit of a workaholic. She's ambitious, Daniel replied. I love that about her. Of course. I just worry sometimes. Marriage needs attention. The seed was planted. Daniel began noticing how often Maya stayed late at the library, how she sometimes seemed distracted when they were together. Rachel increased her presence in their lives. She started showing up whenever they went out. I was just in the area. She dressed more carefully, laughed easily at Daniel's jokes, made sure to praise him constantly. Daniel, you're such a responsible man. Not every guy would be this patient. Maya noticed Rachel was texting more but thought nothing of it. Why would she? Rachel was her best friend. Daniel was her boyfriend. The two people she trusted most in the world. Then, on a perfect Saturday evening at the beach in Lekki, Daniel got down on one knee. The sunset painted the sky orange and pink. Candles flickered in the sand. Rose petals formed a path to where Daniel stood, his hands trembling slightly as he opened the ring box. Maya Johnson, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You are the most incredible woman I've ever met. Will you marry me? Maya couldn't speak. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded frantically. Yes. Yes, of course, yes. In the car on the way home, the first person Maya called was Rachel. Rachel. Rachel, he proposed. Rachel, lying on her bed, sat up abruptly. What? Oh my God. Maya, congratulations. Her voice was perfect, shocked, excited, emotional. But her face remained blank, expressionless. She stared at the wall, feeling something cold and heavy settle in her chest. I need you to be my chief bridesmaid, Maya continued, breathless with joy. Of course, babe. Of course I will. I'm so happy for you. The words came automatically, but they tasted like ash in Rachel's mouth. After they hung up, Rachel sat in the darkness of her room for a long time. She thought about the ring that should have been on her finger, the proposal that should have been hers. She doesn't even appreciate it, Rachel whispered bitterly. She takes it all for granted. And that's when the darkness inside her shifted from envy to something more dangerous. Something calculating. Something willing to do whatever it took to get what it wanted. The morning of Maya's wedding was chaos wrapped in tulle and covered in glitter. Maya sat in front of the large mirror, her makeup artist carefully applying the finishing touches. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, making everything feel golden, magical. Baby, you look so beautiful, Maya's mother whispered, tears already threatening. My baby is getting married. Rachel stood slightly apart, watching it all. She had dressed carefully. A burgundy bridesmaid dress that complemented her figure perfectly, her own makeup flawless, her smile plastered firmly in place. When they carefully lifted the wedding gown over Maya's head and zipped it up, the room went silent. Maya looked like royalty, like something out of a fairy tale. Let's take pictures, someone suggested. Rachel stood beside Maya, smiling brightly for every photo, her arm around her best friend's waist. But behind her eyes, calculations were spinning. "I need some water," Maya said, fanning herself. "I'll get it." Rachel jumped up. "You stay here." She returned with a glass of water and a glass of red wine for herself. "For my nerves," she joked, holding up the wine glass. "My best friend is getting married." Everyone laughed. Maya reached for her water just as Rachel moved closer for another picture. And then, as if in slow motion, Rachel's hand, holding the wine glass, tilted. Red wine splashed across the pristine, white wedding dress. The room erupted in screams. "Oh my God! Oh my God, no!" Rachel's face was the picture of horror. "Maya, I'm so sorry." "Everyone out," Rachel commanded. "Give us space." The room cleared quickly, leaving just Maya and Rachel. Maya was trembling, tears threatening to fall. "It's okay, we can fix this," Rachel said soothingly, dabbing at the stain. But as she worked, she leaned in close and whispered, "Maya, can I ask you something?" "What? Are you sure about this? About Daniel?" Maya's head snapped up. "What? Of course I'm sure. Why would you ask that?" Rachel's face was concerned, sisterly. "I didn't want to say anything before today, but Daniel called me last week. He was worried. He said he feels pressured, like maybe things are moving too fast." Maya's heart stopped. "What? When did he say this?" "Last Tuesday. He called me late at night, really stressed. I didn't want to worry you before your wedding day, but..." Rachel trailed off, looking troubled. "I just want you to be sure he's sure." The seed had been planted. As people rushed to salvage the dress, Maya's confidence had a stain of its own now, invisible but spreading. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. When Daniel saw Maya walk down the aisle, his face transformed. His eyes filled with tears. His smile was so genuine, so full of love that it was impossible to doubt. "You look breathtaking," he whispered when she reached him. The kiss was met with thunderous applause. They were pronounced husband and wife. Rachel stood beside the altar, smiling brightly for all the cameras, dabbing at her eyes as if moved to tears. But inside, she was screaming. At the reception, Rachel gave a toast that brought the room to tears. "Maya isn't just my best friend. She's my sister. Daniel, you better take care of her, or you'll answer to me." Everyone laughed. To the bride and groom. Later in the evening, Rachel found Daniel at the bar, getting drinks. "Hey," she said, sliding up beside him. Her dress caught the light, her perfume subtle but intoxicating. "Rachel, great speech," Daniel said warmly. "I meant every word. Take care of my sister, Daniel. She deserves everything." Rachel smiled, but there was something in her eyes, something hungry, something calculating, that would have alarmed him if he'd been paying closer attention. As the newlyweds left in a shower of rose petals, Rachel stood on the church steps, waving enthusiastically, her eyes slightly red. As the car disappeared around the corner, Rachel's smile finally dropped. "Soon," she whispered to herself. "Very soon." Maya and Daniel had settled into their new life in a beautiful home in Acadia. But something had shifted. Maya's law practice was consuming her. She had passed her bar exams and joined a prestigious firm that demanded long hours, late nights, and weekend work. Daniel tried to be understanding, but he remembered Rachel's words, "She's married to her career," and found himself resenting the work that took his wife away. Their arguments started small but became more frequent, more heated. And Rachel, who visited often under the guise of checking on her best friend, noticed every crack. "You look tired, babe," Rachel would say, bringing food and helping tidy the house. "I am tired," Maya admitted. "Work is insane. And Daniel is upset because I'm never home." "Men need attention," Rachel said carefully. "Maybe you need to make more time for him?" When Daniel came home and Maya was still buried in paperwork, Rachel made sure to greet him warmly. "Let me get you some water," she'd offer, moving naturally around the kitchen like she belonged there. When Maya wasn't around, Rachel's conversations with Daniel shifted subtly. "She's always working," Daniel confided one evening when Maya had called to say she'd be home late again. I know, Rachel said softly. I warned her about this before the wedding. She can be really intense about her career. I told you she's married to that job. The words echoed in Daniel's mind, confirming his growing frustration. This continued for weeks. Rachel inserted herself into their lives so smoothly that neither noticed how much influence she had gained. She had keys to their house. She knew their schedules. She was there during arguments and during quiet moments. Then, on a random Tuesday evening, everything exploded. Rachel showed up at their house unannounced, her eyes red and swollen, her makeup streaked with tears. Maya answered the door, immediately alarmed. Rachel? What's wrong? Rachel stumbled inside, sobbing so hard she could barely speak. Maya, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry for what? Rachel, you're scaring me. Maya guided her to the couch. Daniel emerged from his study, concerned. Rachel? What's going on? Rachel looked up at him, then at Maya, her face a picture of absolute anguish. I didn't know how to tell you. I've been sick for weeks. I finally went to the doctor today and what? Maya's voice was gentle but urgent. Rachel's next words came out in a broken whisper. I'm pregnant. Maya's face lit up despite Rachel's tears. What? Rachel, that's wonderful. Why are you crying? Who's the father? The silence that followed was deafening. Rachel looked at Daniel, then at Maya, then back at Daniel. It's Daniel's. The room froze. What? The word came out barely audible. The wedding reception, Rachel sobbed. He was drunk. I was upset about something. It had happened. One time. One terrible mistake. I'm so sorry, Maya. Maya turned to Daniel, her face completely drained of color. Tell me she's lying. Daniel looked like he'd been hit by a truck. I don't. I was really drunk that night. I barely remember anything after the cake cutting. But Rachel, we didn't. I would never. You don't remember? Rachel's voice rose, hysterical. You don't remember taking me outside? The garden? You said you were confused, that you were having doubts. What? Maya's voice cracked. Rachel pulled a pregnancy test from her purse with shaking hands. 2 clear lines. Positive. Maya stared at it, her entire world crumbling. Get out. Maya. Rachel reached for her. Get out. Both of you. Get out of my house. Maya, please let me explain. Daniel started. But Maya was screaming now, tears streaming down her face. You slept with my best friend. At our wedding. Get out. Get out. Get out. Security came running. Maya, hysterical and broken, pointed at the door. Get them out. Get them both out. Now. After the door slammed shut, Maya collapsed on the floor, sobbing, unable to comprehend how her perfect life had become a nightmare. Outside, in the driveway, Rachel wiped her tears and allowed herself the smallest, darkest smile. The pregnancy test? Bought from a pregnant stranger for 20,000 naira. The story about the wedding night? Completely fabricated. But Daniel's drunken blackout? That was real. And Rachel had carefully constructed a lie that fit perfectly into that blank space in his memory. Phase 1 was complete. The next 3 months were hell for Maya. She moved out, unable to bear the house anymore. She moved into a small apartment in Suralere, back to the neighborhood where she'd grown up. The divorce papers were filed quickly. Daniel tried to call, but Maya blocked his number. She blocked Rachel's too. Maya couldn't eat. She lost weight rapidly. She couldn't sleep without nightmares. Her work suffered catastrophically. Her boss pulled her aside. Maya, you need to take a leave of absence. She took the leave. She had no choice. Meanwhile, Rachel's calls became more persistent. Finally, 3 weeks after the explosion, Maya answered. Maya, please. Let me see you. I'm still your sister. Maya, exhausted from fighting, agreed. Rachel came to Maya's small apartment bearing food. She looked tired, her makeup minimal, her eyes red. I'm so sorry, Rachel began immediately sobbing. I destroyed everything. Maya sat across from her, emotionless, numb. Are you keeping it? Rachel nodded slowly, her hand moving to her stomach. I don't know what else to do. Have you seen Daniel? He called me once, to confirm it was real. I told him it was. Rachel's voice broke. Maya, I never meant for this to happen. Maya, broken and defeated, actually felt sorry for her. I don't hate you, Rachel. I'm destroyed. Rachel wrapped an arm around her shoulders. I know, babe. I know. Over the next weeks, Rachel visited regularly. She brought food, cleaned Maya's apartment, sat with her through crying spells. And while she was there, while Maya was in the shower or sleeping, Rachel took photos. Photos of legal documents. Photos of client files. Photos of Maya's business strategies. Rachel also began meeting Daniel secretly. He was a mess, consumed with guilt, confused about memories he couldn't access. She won't even talk to me, he told Rachel over coffee. She's too hurt right now, Rachel said gently. Give her time. Rachel reached across the table, her hand covering his. We both hurt her. Maybe we're all each other has now. The suggestion was subtle, but planted. Over the following weeks, the meetings became more frequent. Comfort turned to something else. Rachel was always there, supportive, understanding, beautiful, uncomplicated. Maya's law practice continued to crumble. Her clients started canceling mysteriously. They'd received calls from another firm offering better rates. Investigation revealed the firm had recently partnered with a consultant who had inside knowledge of her strategies. The consultant? Rachel, using a pseudonym. 4 months after the divorce was filed, Daniel and Rachel's relationship became public. Maya saw it first on Instagram, a photo of Rachel and Daniel at a restaurant. The caption read, God's timing is perfect. Found love in unexpected places. Maya stared at her phone screen, unable to breathe. 2 months later, Rachel and Daniel got married. A small, private ceremony. And Rachel moved into the house. The house Maya had designed. The house that was supposed to be her forever home. Rachel redecorated, but she kept the bones of what Maya had built. She posted photos sparingly but strategically, each post a knife in Maya's heart. But Maya, despite everything, slowly began to rebuild. She started small, 1 client, then 2, then 5. She worked from her tiny apartment, pouring all her pain into her cases. She wasn't the same Maya who had trusted blindly. She was someone new, someone stronger, someone who had survived. For months into Rachel's marriage to Daniel, Maya finally felt like she could breathe again. She didn't know that the truth was about to explode in the most unexpected way. The package arrived on a random Tuesday afternoon. Maya had just returned from court. She'd won a difficult case. She was rebuilding her practice 1 case at a time. The package sat outside her door. Brown paper, no return address, forwarded from her old address. Inside, she found old notebooks, journals with worn covers and yellowed pages. She opened the first one and immediately recognized the handwriting. Rachel's. The first entry was dated almost 15 years ago, back when they were teenagers. Maya got the solo in the choir again. Why does she always get everything? Maya's hands began to shake. She flipped forward. Maya got admission to University of Lagos. Full scholarship. Meanwhile, I failed JAM again. I'm so tired of being the one who struggles while she floats through life. Further along, I hate watching her succeed. Why does everything good happen to her? What makes her so special? Maya's heart was pounding. She flipped faster. Maya is graduating top of her class. Again. I'm so tired of being in her shadow. One day, I'll have what she has. Then, an entry from just 2 years ago. I've decided something. I'm done being the sidekick. Whatever Maya gets, I deserve it more. If I get the chance, I'll take what's hers. She doesn't deserve to be happy while I'm still struggling. Maya dropped the journal, her breath coming in short gasps. This wasn't spontaneous. Rachel had been planning to destroy her for years. Maya grabbed her car keys with trembling hands.
She didn't think.
She just drove. 20 minutes later, she pounded on the door of the house in Acadia. Her old house. Daniel opened the door.
Maya?
What are you? Where is she? Maya pushed past him and stormed into the living room, where Rachel sat on the couch. Rachel looked up, and the color drained from her face when she saw what Maya was holding. Explain this, Maya said, her voice deadly quiet. She threw the journals onto the coffee table. Explain all of it. Daniel picked up one of the journals and began reading. His face changed with every sentence: confusion, shock, disbelief, horror. Rachel. His voice was barely a whisper. Rachel stood abruptly. Those are old. I was young. I was jealous. There are entries from 2 years ago. Maya's voice rose. You wrote that you would take what was mine. You planned this. Daniel was flipping through pages, reading faster. Rachel, what is this? The pregnancy, Daniel said slowly, realization dawning. At the wedding. Was it even real? The silence was deafening. Answer him, Maya said coldly. Rachel looked between them, cornered, trapped. And then something snapped. She laughed. It was a bitter, hollow sound. No, Rachel said finally, her voice hard. There was no pregnancy. There was no drunken mistake. I made it all up. Daniel staggered backward.
What?
I bought that pregnancy test from a stranger. I fabricated the whole story. You were drunk enough that I knew you wouldn't remember clearly. I just needed to create doubt. Rachel's voice was rising. And it worked perfectly. Why? Daniel's voice broke. Rachel turned to Maya, her face twisted with jealousy. Because she had everything. The brains, the scholarship, the career, the perfect life. I was always just the pretty one, the sidekick. I loved you. Maya's tears were streaming. You were my sister. You were my shadow. Rachel screamed back. Everything I wanted, you got first. Do you know what it's like to watch your best friend float through life while you struggle? So you destroyed my marriage? You stole my husband. I took what I deserved. Rachel was crying now too, but there was no remorse. You didn't even appreciate Daniel. You were always working. Daniel looked at Rachel like he was seeing her for the first time. You manipulated me. You destroyed my marriage based on a lie. You told me you had a miscarriage when the truth is you were never pregnant. You married the woman who destroyed us, Maya said quietly to Daniel. You chose to believe her lies over my truth. Maya, I didn't know. Daniel started, reaching for her. Don't. Maya stepped back. You made your choice when you married her instead of fighting for our marriage. She turned to Rachel. You wanted my life so badly that you destroyed yours to get it. You didn't steal my blessings, Rachel.
You stole my pain.
You wanted my marriage, so you got my heartbreak. You wanted my husband, so you got a man who now knows you're a liar. You don't understand, Rachel started. I understand perfectly, Maya said, her voice strong despite her tears. You traded your soul for a life that was never meant to be yours. She looked at Daniel one last time. I forgive you. Not for you, but for me. So I can finally let this go. But we're done. Maya, please. But Maya was already walking toward the door. Wait. Rachel's voice was desperate. Maya, please. I'm sorry. Everything is falling apart. Daniel barely talks to me. I have no friends. My family won't speak to me.
Please.
Maya stopped at the door, but didn't turn around. You made your choice, Rachel. Now live with it. She walked out and didn't look back. Rachel sat alone in the big house, surrounded by luxury that felt like a prison. Daniel had moved into the guest bedroom months ago. He came home late, left early, spoke to her only when necessary. The warmth in his eyes had died completely. The clients she'd stolen had discovered her fraud. 3 were suing her. Her reputation was destroyed. Her mother had called once after learning the truth. I raised you better than this, she'd said. Then she'd hung up and hadn't called again. Her siblings refused to visit. Her old friends had cut her off. Her social media posts received only hateful comments. Rachel had stopped posting altogether. She had the house. She had the man. She had the life she'd envied. And she had never been more miserable. One evening, unable to bear it anymore, Rachel drove to Maya's office. It had taken months to find out where Maya was working, a small but growing firm. Rachel pushed past the receptionist and found Maya's office. Maya looked up. Neither woman spoke. Rachel looked terrible, weight loss, dark circles, clothes that hung on her frame. "Please," Rachel whispered. "Maya, please."
I'm sorry.
"I lost everything. Daniel hates me. Nobody trusts me. I'm alone. Please forgive me." Maya stood slowly. She looked different, stronger, with eyes that had seen darkness and survived it. She was wearing a sharp suit, a stack of case files on her desk showing a practice that was thriving. "Rachel," Maya said quietly, "I forgive you." Rachel's face lit up with hope. "You do?" "Not for you," Maya continued. "For me. I forgive you so I can finally be free. But you need to understand something." She walked around her desk. "You didn't take my life. You took my pain. You wanted my marriage, so you got my heartbreak. You wanted my husband, so you got a man who knows you're a liar and will never trust you. You didn't win. You just traded your peace for my problems." "But Maya, I can't give you what you're looking for. I can't be your friend again. Some things, once broken, can't be repaired." "Please don't do this," Rachel begged. "I have nobody." "You had me," Maya said, her eyes filling with tears. "You had someone who would have died for you. And you destroyed that for a man and a life that were never meant to be yours." "I'm sorry. I know. But sorry doesn't undo what was done." Maya walked to her office door and opened it. "Goodbye, Rachel. I hope you find peace. But you won't find it here." Rachel stood there for a long moment, then walked out, broken and defeated. Maya watched her go, then closed the door and leaned against it, allowing herself a moment to feel the pain one last time. Then she wiped her eyes, straightened her suit, and returned to her desk. She had 3 client meetings that afternoon and a case to prepare for tomorrow. She was building something new, something real, something that was truly hers. Rachel sat in the darkness of the big living room alone. Daniel was out again. She looked around at the expensive furniture, the luxury that surrounded her. It all felt empty, like a beautiful tomb. She'd gotten everything she wanted, and it had cost her everything she had. Maya sat in her modest apartment, small but cozy, filled with plants and books. Her phone rang, a new client, referred by someone she'd helped. She made herself tea and sat by the window, watching Lagos traffic flow below. She wasn't fully healed, maybe she never would be, but she was free. She'd lost a husband and a best friend, but she'd found herself. And that was worth more than anything. Rachel got everything she wanted, and it destroyed her. Because she didn't just betray her best friend, she betrayed herself. And that's a debt that never gets paid off. If this story shook you, ask yourself, have you ever wanted someone else's life so badly that you forgot to build your own? Remember, betrayal doesn't just destroy the person you hurt, it destroys who you used to be. Not every blessing is meant for you. To my returning viewers, thank you for standing with me, supporting my stories, and making this channel feel like home. And to everyone watching who hasn't subscribed yet, please take a second to hit that subscribe button and join the family. It helps the channel grow, and it encourages me to keep bringing you more emotional, powerful stories every single week. Until next time, remember, true friendship doesn't envy, doesn't scheme, and doesn't destroy. Protect your peace, choose your circle wisely, and never trade your integrity for someone else's life. I'll see you in my next story.
Stay blessed.